So most people have at least heard of crime analysis, even if they've never seen it in practice. So this is just a quick primer on how we at IXP use the terminology, with a few examples of what these concepts might mean for a law enforcement agency. So here we have the formal definition of crime analysis, but basically it breaks down to these 5 elements. Crime analysis is used to proactively determine crime trends, to develop threat, vulnerability, and risk assessments, to help solve criminal investigations, to assist in the prosecution of criminals, and to generally support the agency's mission. The basis of crime analysis is, of course, in the data analytics. We turn raw data into intelligence products that can be used to guide decision making at every level, from patrol to the courtroom. Modern policing generates massive amounts of data on a daily basis, as new crimes are reported, calls for service are logged, arrests are made, and citations are given. Technology has come a long way in terms of summarizing and presenting these raw data as accessible information, but technology alone cannot innovate, nor can it contextualize that information within your jurisdiction. That is the prerogative of the analyst, who works with officers and administrators to identify the needs of the department, and further to identify a means to address those needs, analyzing information to produce actionable intelligence which supports agency goals and serves as a resource for those putting department plans into action, whether that involves overhauling patrol schedules to better distribute officer time and effort, identifying crime series as they develop, or providing research support to specific investigations. For example, a sheriff's office was suffering an extremely high level of opiate abuse in their jurisdiction. While their deputies were doing a good job of identifying hospital sources and low-income dealers and users, they realized that white-collar abusers were getting their fix from somewhere else. There were several reported instances of individuals having bad reactions to opiates at or near the workplace, and others of individuals driving while under the influence on the way to work. Investigators determined that these people were most likely obtaining their medication on their drive into the office. So to identify the source, the crime analyst speculated that traffic patterns, specifically accidents and reports of odd driving behavior, in the vicinity of any major source of illicit opiates would bear similarity to traffic patterns surrounding a bar. So we identified those patterns and layered them over the morning commute. We found 3 locations that fit the pattern and were prime candidates for further investigation. 2 were then identified as legitimate pharmacies, but the third was in a residential area and was ultimately found to be the home of a major distributor in the region. Now, as I briefly showed earlier, we generally categorize law enforcement analysis into 3 areas: tactical, strategic, and administrative. Tactical analysis focuses on identifying and solving crime. It's information designed to assist operational personnel in the identification of crime trends and in the arrest of criminal offenders. This can include anything from hotspot mapping to issuing a public safety bulletin to actively supporting an ongoing investigation. Basically, tactical analysis looks at who is doing what, where, and when, so you can deploy your resources at the right time and in the right place to reduce crime. Speaking broadly, this includes the identification of evolving or extant crime patterns or series, hotspot identification and assessment, case matching, or clearing old cases by connecting them to recently solved ones, intelligence development, including social media monitoring, and subject investigations such as background checks, behavioral analysis, victimology, analyzing phone dumps or bank records, and so on. Strategic analysis involves isolating what is, has been, and will be a problem, and developing operational policies and practices to counteract said problem. Again, strategic analysis looks at longer-term crime patterns and focuses on identifying trends and developing operational policies and practices to address them. This can include statistical crime summaries, whether through periodic published reports or through a real-time dashboard like this one. Forecasting future crime using statistical models which can extrapolate future behavior from past behavior and can be adjusted to predict the effect of social or structural changes on future criminal activity, and a veritable slew of analytics, backed by current best practice research, which identify the necessary metrics and analyses to provide decision makers with as much intelligence as possible to address problems as they are identified. And finally, we have administrative analysis, which focuses on long-term planning, including strategy development, program evaluation, and workforce optimization. It's a pretty broad umbrella, but we've pulled out some of the more common projects with which our analysts have been involved, including crime control best practice assessment, which starts with research, both academic and practical, into the prospective practice. We then help you establish implementation and evaluation parameters, and finally monitor, evaluate, and improve the practice you've chosen to implement. Here's officer utilization and workload analysis, which might include calls for service analysis, which is often used as a basis for redistricting, making sure that officer presence matches citizen need. Manpower and workload statistics look at officer activity breakdowns, including responding to calls for service, attending to administrative duties, and preventative patrol activities, to assess officer performance and to predict and reduce officer burnout. And our senior analysts are also experienced at planning and research, which can include program planning, grant writing, feasibility studies, resource allocation, budgeting, and so on. For more information, feel free to reach out to us via phone or email, and be sure to check out some of the other videos on our website.